I had already target locked on those fish and finally got one of them to bite. There was several of them down there too. That was pretty sweet because I had saw those fish out there at about 40 or 50 feet. And so I hit my target lock, but I kept just kind of easing along towards them. And then took me a couple casts to get the bait where I needed to and got that one to bite. There was several of them holding right there in a little, kind of a little pack. Oh, that's a pretty one. Really nice chunk. There we go. See you, buddy. With summertime fishing, that's the way it's going to be a lot of times. You're gonna ease around on these, on these pieces of structure. That's what this is right here. This is a piece of underwater structure, kind of a ridge that runs, out here a considerable distance off the bank. It's got some grass on it. It's got some rock on it, and obviously got some bass living on it too. There was, I don't know, 6 or 8 right there on the screen. Got that one to bite out of them. The rest of them's got to be right there somewhere. So hopefully we'll be able to find his buddies. But taking a soft plastic as well as a jig. This is a Bass Pro Bull Hog is what this is. Just got a Texas rig. You got a 1/2 ounce tungsten weight. That's the new VMC Redline hybrid worm hook. It's kind of an in-between. It's not a super wide gap hook. It's not just your standard round bend, but that VMC hybrid hook is just an excellent one in that Redline setup. Probably my go-to all-around hook for a lot of different baits. That is the one. When I'm on a new place like this, starting point, the way I like to do it is to, see a piece of structure like this, graph it, while idling, actually get back there and sit down, just side image it. What I'm seeing on the map, I know exactly what that's going to look like underwater and where the cover is, where the rock is, where the grass is. Whether I put any waypoints or not, just knowing where all that stuff is before I even drop the trolling motors helps me be able to work around a piece of structure like that even that much more efficiently, So I start there and then just get up and start picking it apart and really using, especially my 360, to follow that lay of the land and make those precise casts, but dialing it in with the live to see exactly what's going on, try to see my bait as well as the fish. Here's one. There we go. Got another one out there off of that spot. And that's usually the deal with this too. Something that's nice about it is to be able to get a bite, whether you see a fish, catch one, whatever, hit spot lock, because most of the time, this time of the year, those fish are going to be grouped up. It's rare to catch just one. You're usually going to catch 2 or 3, without moving the boat. So it's important when you get a bite, summertime offshore in that deeper grass or brush, whatever it may be, man, hit spot lock and just sit there and pick that place apart, because there's probably more than one fish down there. I had to shake it a little bit, but he did eventually come and bite it. Look, there's another one. There was another one down a little deeper, down there following this splashing in and stuff. It's funny how many fish actually follow each other that we can see happen now. We used to, if we didn't actually see the fish visibly come up, at the surface, we had no idea that there was another fish following. But anymore, we can see that there's a lot of times, so many times. I'd almost venture to say that the majority of the time, there's another fish or two following the one that you're fighting in. It's something that we have really learned with live technology, and just goes to show you how many more fish are actually down there. My 360 is on an 80-foot range, so I'm seeing 80 feet out from the boat. Right now I've got my live pulled in to 50. I'm gonna bump it back out to 80. It's really nice to have those at the same, so that whatever I'm seeing on that screen, if I'm gonna try to cast to a target I see at 360 or I see on my live, it's the same cast. If I've got those screens set at different distances, those targets, and trying to hit them, it becomes really difficult to remember, oh yeah, this one's at this one's at that. Man, just keep them both the same and just get accustomed to it, because it's so important when you see something, especially on live, to know, hey, that fish is out there 40 feet. I need to get the bait this far from the boat. That's a big part of it, you know, especially with a vertical presentation like what I'm doing right now. So running those screens at the same distance out is really, really important to make sure that your bait's going to get where you're trying to get it to. I've ran 360 on the front of my boat since it came out. I mean, I was truly one of the first guys that had 360 on the bow of the boat, and it's something that I truly couldn't do without at this point. But because it just allows me to see everything that's going on around the boat. You know, I can see it in any direction, can see the lay of the land, as well as, you know, most any cover that's out there. I'm going to pick it up with 360. So that's something I just can't do without. And as much as I fish offshore anymore, it is, you know, my single most important tool. There's no question about it. It's kind of taking it to the next level though, and having the two working in unison, having that Mega Live to be able to dissect those little bitty places and pick out those subtleties, and even see just the difference in height, you know, to help you pick the right bait. I mean, a lot of that, as much as I love to fish a crankbait, you know, some places that fall real fast or something, if you don't have a bait that's getting to those fish, you're just picking the wrong bait, or, you know, making that subtle bottom contact sometimes is what you got to have to trigger those bites. So seeing just how high structure comes up to help you pick the right bait is a big part of that too. Recent tournament that we fished, Bass Pro Tour up at Lake Cayuga, I was fishing a lot of outside eelgrass lines, and I could see those clumps on my 360. So I was keeping the boat outside of the eelgrass line, namely by my 360. I knew to keep the grass line over there about 15 or 20 feet away from the boat. But what I could see with my live imaging that I wasn't seeing on the 360 was just which holes and which clumps were taller and had those more defined edges inside of those holes in that eelgrass where those fish were sitting. So, you know, I'd see lots of clumps, I could fish down through there, but there were times throughout the day those fish didn't want to chase a crankbait. I could see those, you know, more dense clumps, those taller clumps, and really pick those fish off with a drop shot during those slower times of the day. I mean, they are so tight to the bottom, it's crazy. Those are good fish too. Like, even when you catch one, you might see another fish for just a second pop up on the screen, but they don't stay there very long at all. And they are right back down in those rocks. But like the cast before, I shortchanged it, didn't get it out there quite far enough, and I didn't get a fish because of it. I had to get it out just far enough to be able to get it to those fish. You know, as fishermen, we're so keen to talk about actions of baits, colors of baits, lots of different things. I love fishing a crankbait, and, you know, I could talk about crankbaits and so many different attributes of them all day long. But something that is really the most important connection, other than your line, between you and the fish is the hook. The hook there's going to be a hook on every single bait you fish. If it's a Texas rig, you know, soft plastic of any kind, that single hook. If it's on a hard bait, that treble hook, there's going to be a hook on every single thing you're going to use to try to catch a fish with. This particular one is my all-time favorite for most any soft plastic. This is the hybrid worm hook. So what does that mean? It's not quite just your round bend, your regular old round bend worm hook, and it's not that extra wide gap style hook either. It's really in between those two. But the thing that I probably like about it as much as the shape is that wire. That wire isn't a really heavy duty wire, so it's, you know, a real heavy gauge where you need braid for it. And it's not a light wire where you're going to open this hook up if you do use braid with it. So it's a great all-purpose hook. I'll use this with braid, I'll use it with straight fluorocarbon. You can use it on really any kind of setup, a medium heavy to a heavy. There just isn't a bad place to use that VMC Redline hybrid worm hook on any soft plastic application. Dude, that feels like a big one. Yeah, that's a good one. Those fish are so tight down in that rock. Okay, come here, buddy. I got you right there. All right. Dude, that's just a ball of fun. Just dragging a creature bait out there, offshore, deeper water. Been fishing some grass mixed places now, just on really clean rock. And It's just a very, very well-defined little ridge of rock. And so I'm able to sit and make a pitch to it. I don't have to make a long cast and fish that bait a great distance. Just pitch it out to that edge of rock, drag it back, and they're biting it right in the same place every single time. He even gave us one last hoorah.